The Real Estate Photography Podcast is brought to you by tourbuzz.net, high-definition virtual tour and photograph hosting, now with interactive floor plans. Sign up for your free trial today.
Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Photography Podcast with Mike Muriello. Today, we had a viewer request going through the difference of shooting for a real estate agent versus shooting for an architect versus shooting for an interior designer. This shoot here was done for this specific podcast, and we're not going to be talking about shooting for an architect because that's not really what we're doing here. This is not an architectural shoot, but this could be used in the other two elements, which is shooting for a real estate agent versus shooting for an interior designer. This is a well-designed space. It's also a space that shoots well for, obviously showing off a space as if you were giving it to a real estate agent to sell. So please ignore the lighting in this shot. This shoot, like I said in the beginning, was done for this podcast specifically. But this isn't the shot that's important, especially the lighting. It's the interior design shot that's important. The lighting here is done on the fly. I'm not happy with it, but I am satisfied with the composition for the simple fact that this is the type of composition, and we all know this by now, that a real estate agent is looking for. They're looking to show off the space. What's in the space helps, but we're looking at what is the space. We're looking at documenting the space. Telling a little bit of the story doesn't hurt. It helps. Don't get me wrong, it helps. But what we can see is we can see furniture, we see some design, we see windows. That's important to know because you're looking at real estate here. Pretend you're considering buying the space. You want to know, okay, there's a window in my living room. I like that, and I can see how big it is and what's going on. I also see that there are hardwood floors, and I like that, as a potential buyer. So this is what I'm focused on when it comes to, shooting for a real estate agent. Again, lighting is not right. I'm not satisfied with it, but I am satisfied with the composition, what it is for a real estate agent. Now, shooting for an interior designer is going to be much different. This is what I would shoot for an interior designer. And we're going to talk about the differences about how we shoot differently for an interior designer, but I want to talk about why we're shooting differently. I just said the reasons for this picture, why we shoot the way we shoot. Obviously, it's to document the space. Why are we shooting, this way for an interior designer? And that's because the space is not important. What's in the space is. And I know you could take that out of context and you can say whatever you want, but there's a simple principle is that when we're shooting for an interior designer, the space is not nearly as important as what's in the space. The interior designer did not design the space. They're not interested in, where the window is located when it comes to designing the space. They're interested in where it's located for, fitting the space and putting, their objects into the space, what they're choosing, color palette, tonal qualities, texture, what the space is saying. But they're not as interested in, for example, where the window is located in a picture. That's almost a non-issue. We're focused on what did they put into the space. So, there's a basic philosophical difference in shooting for a real estate agent versus shooting for an interior designer. Because, let's put it this way, pretend you're an interior designer and you saw this picture. You're not intimate enough with the objects. You're not close enough. You're not seeing what's really going on in the frame. There's a lot of subject matter. There's too much to look at. Now pretend you're a real estate agent and I gave you this and I said, here, go use this to sell your house. They're going to look at me and say, what? I want to see the space. So they are different and you can't substitute one for the other. They're exclusive. So talking about, this interior design shot, what's different composition-wise? We just said it. What's different basically from a photography aspect? Well, there's a lot different as well. This is not a fused set of exposures. This is one shot. This is +1, so it's overexposed by one stop. You have this, and you can see from this shot, you have this giant light source. So that's where all of our light is coming from. And I want that organic light approach. So we're taking all this light from the right and we're letting it taper off to the left. We're overexposing the shot, and I'm choosing to overexpose the shot because of the tonality of the image. We have white couches with white walls. So let's further the feeling of that white, and let's really bring it out, because we also have these brown and dark textures and these dark colors, and they're going to be accenting, but we're really focused on what's in the majority of the frame, and it's this white color. So let's bring that out just using light. We're also shooting at a slightly shallower depth of field. We're shooting at f4 in this image. Now, as an interior design photographer or interior photographer, you can choose, do I want everything to be in focus, or do I want some of it to be slightly not sharp? I don't want those candles to be tack sharp that are on the coffee table. I'm not interested in them being tack sharp. That's my choice. Other photographers might say, I want everything, completely tack sharp. That's your choice. But this image, you're zoomed in. You're really tight on the objects in the room. I can see from left to right. I can see what's going on with this decorative vase. I can see the seashells on the end table. I can see the artwork on the wall. I can see the texture of the couch. I can see the texture of the pillows, the design of the pillows. I am seeing so much of what went into the design element by the interior designer. Whereas there's just too much going on. Again, overwhelmed, and the more you see, the less you know. I have said that before, and this is especially true. Why not, for an interior designer, give them 5 or 6 images of this room like this, rather than one overall picture? You're going to learn a lot more by doing this. Another photography principle that goes, to the nth degree when shooting interior design is really focusing on your lines. And I say that because here we're not 100% perfect. If we look at our blinds right here, they kind of skew out a little bit. This isn't 100% straight. And again, this is also done for the purpose of discussing the differences between these two. Here, your coffee table at the bottom here, it needs to be perfectly straight. Otherwise, it looks odd. This painting here needs to be as straight as possible with the top of the frame. Now, you can go back and you can correct that in post, but I recommend getting as close to perfect as you possibly can. Now, sometimes the painting on the wall isn't 100% straight, and the pillows aren't straight, and the candles aren't straight, and everything isn't. So you have to go in and make those adjustments, because everything is magnified when you're giving that much more intimate approach. Everything is going to be magnified. That's just how it works. So there's a basic philosophical difference between shooting for a real estate agent who wants to sell the space and an interior designer who wants to sell their services, which is filling the space. What's in the space? What does the stuff in the space mean? The color, the tone, everything matters to an interior designer. So you really need to be on the same wavelength as they are to accomplish their task. So it is a different type of photography. And we can talk about the differences between real estate photography and architectural photography at a different time, but this is really a good example of the difference between real estate photography and interior design photography. All right, well, thanks for watching. Have a good one.